All right, welcome to section 5. I'm going to, all right, so everybody, welcome. Start putting in the chat your mood. 1, I hate the class. 2, I'm not getting it. 3, it's making sense. 4, I like this class. And 5, I'm loving it. And I'll be right back. Let me close my door so I reduce the hallway noise. So put in the chat, and also let's use that as a moment to take attendance. I see some 5, I see some 3s. Okay, 3s, it's making sense. All right, so, okay, if it's 2, let us know so we can find out what's blocking. I know that we have not started the project. We have mostly just homework, so this should be pretty fine. Okay, we love all the 5. What do we have? Okay. Hello, I have a request. Okay, the people that say 3 and 5. Oh, okay, this is what Zoom does. It keep the chat going. This is interesting. Okay, today we have 5, 5, 3, 5, 5, 3. Okay, good. So love it. Love it. I hope the 3s will scale it to a 4 or 5 sometime next week. And I hope the 5 will stay at 5. All right, let me know, Ima, if you are done with the attendance, and then we can move on. Okay, I do this so that it makes, that's not what I want. Okay.
I'm done with the attendance, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Let me try to do spotlight. Okay, go ahead and continue adding people until we get to the 15-minute mark so I can focus on the presentation. All right, quick reminder of things that will make you successful, because I realized that today is session 5 out of 9 sessions, so we are literally halfway. So that's why this number that you guys put in the chat is super important, so we know how you are doing. Make sure you do your pre-work. You know how you can stay engaged is do your pre-work. It's a lot of work. I realized that. Participate in your homework activity and project, and the Friday session is really made for study time, because when we did this session last time, the feedback that we got was, oh my God, it was just super fast. We didn't have time to really study. We didn't have time to meet and learn from other people. So we give you the Friday session. So I want to make sure that you guys know what is the Friday session for. It's really your study time, You can study before or after, but this is a dedicated study time where you can chat among yourself. Just think about it like if you are at the university in a virtual hallway, you'll be sitting with your classmate and discussing stuff like this. But definitely after today and when the next course is open on Sunday, I'm going to put you guys in a group. We're going to share with you next Wednesday the different group that you have, and you guys going to start working on your group project. So to be eligible to work on the group, you have to have turned in all your homework by now. You have to have less than 3, what did we say? 3 absent, So if you're absent more than 3 times, so literally we have 6 class by then, right? if you absent half of the way, there's no point of doing a project because then you're just going to be wasting your team member time, and we don't want that. We want a collaborative process for this project that we about to start working on. So those will be the prerequisite to make sure that you have everything. So you got to be attending more than 3 times, not absent for 3 times. You have to do all your homework and all your quiz by then. Then you will be selected, to work on the project with certain group members. So next week we'll share. I don't know where we are with the general attendance. I don't know if the final number is 20 people, 19, 18, I don't know. So we probably have a couple of people missing today. I just read on the chat that somebody lost a family member. So sorry for, she's not in the class today. So sorry for her loss. And we'll keep you and your family in our prayer, okay? So keep it moving, ask questions, and share feedback. That's really important. Like today, we have a guest speaker coming, so this is a perfect time because you already did all the pre-work, to really ask some great questions so that I can enhance the discussion. All right. Ask question. If this is a quick moment to see if anybody has a question before I turn it back to our guest speaker today and introduce our guest speaker. Okay, so if you have any question, put in the chat or open your, your microphone and ask your question. Okay. All right. So while I'm waiting for the question, while you put in the chat or not, let me introduce our guest speaker. And this is probably an old bio, but it could be some relevant. So if there's some new stuff that you have been up to lately, AINA, please share with us. We like to support everything you are doing. So AINA is an experienced agile and business consultant with over 10-year experience and expertise in business transformation across different industry. She's a member of 4 COHORT Council. AINA is a woman in tech ambassador, a best-selling author, book author, and a keynote speaker, okay? Her boutique company, Be Agile Tutoring, help large enterprises to transform and become adaptable to new change and flexible enough to thrive in an unpredictable world. This is awesome. So we are super excited today to have AINA share her experience, talk about Agile mostly because that's her expertise with us. So you guys have read some pre-work and a lot of information about Agile, but you have an expert in front of you today that will give you a lot more detail. So I'm gonna stop sharing and have AINA, how do I do this stop sharing situation? Yes, it's right here. I'm gonna stop sharing. And then I'm gonna ask, go ahead. I'm gonna ask AINA to, start sharing, and then we'll get it started.
Could you enable me to share? Is that? You're on mute.
I think you can now. Go ahead.
Amazing. Yes, I can. Let me give it a try. Can you see my screen, guys?
It's coming, and I'm trying to see how do I just do the standard thing. Okay. I want to make you the spotlight. Just replace spotlight. Perfect. Go ahead.
When I move the slides, can you see them moving?
Yes.
Amazing. Wonderful. So let's get it started. Lizette, thank you so much for the introduction. Yes, it's still relevant. I'm still working in Agile and I'm still helping the organizations to thrive. And fortunately or unfortunately, the world is still unpredictable. So my service is in need. And today we are going to talk about Agile one-on-one and Agile software development. So I'm so glad to hear that you guys have done some pre-work. So I hope this information is going to be partly new, partly familiar. So you can ask me the questions after that. I wanted to share like 3 of the most relevant certificates I've gained for this profession. And today is not a certification topic, but it's good for you to know what certificates are valid in the global market if you would like to proceed with the Agile profession. So if you are serious about taking Agile as your career, professional Scrum Master and professional Kanban are the most relevant certificates for HRs in the industry. So if you are in Agile, you need to know two biggest and the most popular frameworks such as Scrum and Agile. SAFe is the third one, but SAFe is so big, so we don't have time today to talk about it. We can create another session just on SAFe if there is a need, but today we will focus mainly on Scrum and Kanban. And the third certificate is from PMI. I'm not sure if you've heard about PMP certificate for project managers. ACP is Agile Certified Practitioner. It's kind of like similar to a PMP, but in Agile. Unfortunately, this certificate is not that popular on the job market. But from my personal experience, I evaluate the most compared to the previous two I've been talking, because it's a very serious certification. It's very hard to get it. It takes much time to prepare. But we'll see. Maybe it will get popularity in future. But if somebody asks me to evaluate someone's resume, if you have this PMI Agile Certified Practitioner, you will definitely have extra pluses in my eyes. But let's move on to the agenda of today's session. So we are going to spend some time talking about what Agile is and why it is important to move from waterfall to Agile, and can we balance both waterfall framework and Agile mindset and methodology. Then we are going to talk about Agile frameworks such as Scrum and Kanban, like certificates you've seen before. Then, as we are a class focused on QA, we are going to talk about Agile Metrics and testing, and then how the releases are done in Agile and why they are important. I won't have time to go to the details with any of these items on the agenda, because I will need another 2 or more days to talk about individual item, but I am going to give you an overview of how everything is happening, so you'll be able to reach out to me later if you have any questions, or at least you will have a structure in your head, and if you're interested to learn more, you will know what to Google and what material to search to get in depth with that. So let's move on to the first one and talk about what Agile means. I hope you already had a session or pre-read before today about Agile. So first of all, Agile is a mindset. It's a set of value and principles, and it's always a search and a question of how can I do something new instead of just saying I cannot. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of prehistory of Agile. So Agile methodology and Agile movement, I can tell, was started in 90s. So it's been 20 plus years, quite a while already. But why we needed something new in 90s? And the answer is because we started moving from the tangible world to intangible world. Like for centuries, or even more, for thousands of years, the projects humanity been leading were tangible. Like from ancient Greece or any other ancient civilization, people were painting, people were building houses, so working in construction, people did sculptures, people were building bridges, ships, any other like types of transportation like boats. And all of this was tangible. And people knew how to do it, so they already had best practices. If you've been building a boat for hundreds or thousands of years, you don't need to get a customer feedback, a person who is going to use your boat in the middle of the stage. So you know what you're doing, you build the project until the end, you provided a board to your customer, and you are done, right? The same with a bridge. You don't need a feedback on a bridge from people who are going to walk on it. You just build a bridge, you are done, and then use it. The same with houses. But what happened in 80s? In 80s, people started using computers, and in 90s, most families already had at least a simple computer in their home, or even if they didn't, they were about to get it, or they were trying to save money. So they got a computer in the near future, like in 2000s. And working with a computer, the first time in the human history, we faced the situation when we started working on something intangible, something what we cannot examine in the real world, like building a code. And it's good if we have a front-end design for our products, so at least we can provide some information to our customer so they can use the front end without having no idea what is happening on the back end. But if we had back end projects, we even couldn't gather the feedback. And most of the time, especially in 90s, people been building these projects or products the first time in their life, and they didn't know how to do it. So if we use waterfall is something predictable. So it happens from the analysis of the project. And if we're talking about software, then kind of design, and then build, meaning coding, and then testing it, and then provide to the customer. If it's tangible project, again, we are gathering a scope, the information, what exactly we want to build, then we design. For example, if we are building an apartment building, so like we have an architectural design, we approve this design, and then we build, then we kind of like test it, that it's safe for people to live, and then we deliver, and then we forget about it. But in 90s, if you noticed, I mentioned two words. I mentioned projects and product. So product, it means we kind of never end with what we are working on. We finish the part of it, which is a project, but we keep evolving it as a product. For example, if we are using Instagram or WhatsApp or any other application, so it was delivered to us, to customers, a while ago, but the product never ends. Every time I received a notification that there is a new feature being launched, or a new bugs fixes were pushed. So the team keeps working on this constantly. It doesn't mean that we delivered a feature and now we are done. Nobody is maintaining Instagram or WhatsApp, like if we do it with a bridge or with the apartment building. Definitely, it requires some maintenance, but it's not us. It's not like if we work as a construction company, we deliver the bridge and then we are done. And then the other people keep maintaining it, but it's not our service. In IT, it's different. In IT, we are talking about end-to-end experience for the customer. And again, if we delivered TikTok or Instagram, it doesn't mean it's done. Our customers would want another features, and like, for example, Instagram kind of recently launched the threads, kind of analogy to Twitter, so people can write some short texts on Instagram as well. And why it's happening? Probably because Instagram wants to compete with Twitter and provide the features they have. Or another case is Clubhouse. It was a very popular application in 2021, 2022 during COVID, when there were a few guys who got the idea of connecting people together, kind of saw the market opportunity. So people are locked at home, so they feel lonely. They don't know how to communicate online. There are not that many tools of communicating online. Let's connect people together. Let's bring them together. So they built an app and it became really popular, but unfortunately it couldn't make the competition with giants like Instagram and Twitter and the others, because they didn't have that much resources as these old school applications. And so the feature they provided is to be able to connect people so they can talk to each other. Twitter adopted it, and then few other, like Spotify and few other applications adopted it. And unfortunately, Clubhouse left the competition. So the meaning of that is, in Agile, we really need to be adaptable, and we need to get continuous feedback and implement it as soon as possible. Again, example with the Clubhouse, people kept asking them to be able to send some documents or information or any other reference, not just talk in a group, but for example, if I'm mentioning a book, most likely you won't be able to capture the author or the name, or then it will appear that there are a few books with the same title. So it would be very beneficial for you guys if I send you the link like during my presentation or after my presentation, but it wasn't possible to do that in Clubhouse. So Twitter and Spotify, they adapted faster, they gathered that feedback, and they provided the feature what customer wanted. So that is the point of why Agile mindset and methodology is important in 21st century. And to reiterate, what is Agile is a mindset, is also iterative and incremental approach of delivering value. It's empowered and collaborative teams make sure that we are still having energy to provide this value to the customers. Continuous feedback. So we are seeking for feedback. We are seeking for improvement and adaptation, and also faster realization of value for clients and providing it to them. So that's what Agile is. Agile Manifesto, I think you already pre-read it, but just to refresh the memory, in Agile, we really value individuals and interactions over processes and tools. And it doesn't mean that processes and tools are not important, but it's kind of like setting of the stage of we're choosing the tools, we are establishing the processes, and then we interact with each other by improving these processes and deciding either we are keeping the same tools or we are inspecting on the tool side as well and moving on to something better. Working software, or I would say working product over comprehensive documentation. And again, it doesn't mean that documentation is not important. It's important, but just enough to understand what we are doing, what our product is about, what is the business side, what is the technical side, so the person can be onboarded and continue providing value, but not stick with a bureaucracy of documentation. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Again, contracts are important, but what's more important is to provide the value to the customer. So if we sign up the contract of providing A, B, and C features, and then appears that B and C is not really relevant for our customers, there is another feature being launched from our competitor, and we need to move on faster. So we are not sticking with the contract. We are renegotiating the contract and moving on with the value. And responding to change over following a plan. So kind of similar to what I just said. Yes, we had a plan of deliver A, B, and C feature, but the market has changed. Something had happened. There is an example with COVID. So instead of being collocated and working together in the offices, we suddenly moved to working from home. So we definitely need to respond to this change and deliver a new feature. So if we are like working for Zoom or for Teams or any other companies, so this means we really need to be fast and respond to the market reaction, because there are way more people moved online. They use our feature. And I remember how Zoom launched a feature of making the camera prettier, so you can adjust the way you look. And I was admired that feature, like, wow, how fast they reacted, because I remember when I started spending most of my day in Zoom, the same with my colleagues, we were complaining that our lighting is not the best, and we don't look that great as we are in person. Like, we need to spend extra time, I don't know, making hair or like putting a makeup just to mitigate these lighting issues. And then Zoom launched that feature, like you can adjust the way you look. And it might feel like something unimportant compared to the other features, like we need to record the sessions, we need better resolution of sharing the screen. But that was also thoughtful, and I think that was partly a reason why many people kept using Zoom instead of Teams in COVID times. And also, we have 12 principles of Agile methods, kind of like customer satisfaction, what I've been talking about for a while already, that we need to provide value to our customer. Otherwise, people just leave to the competitors. Welcome change, deliver frequently, working together, motivate our teams, use a face-to-face, or nowadays we call Zoom face-to-face, more often instead of using text or other features, because face-to-face collaboration is the key. And why is the key? Because you can see my body language, you can see my facial expression at least, and I also try to use hands and shoulders, so you can feel like my attitude to the topic. You can feel if I am passionate about what I'm talking about, or if I am tired, or if I am leaning towards the monitor. So it means like I'm keeping an attention, I am trying to focus on what you are talking about. Or you might also see that I lost my interest and maybe you need to move on with another topic. So that's why face-to-face or like Zoom face-to-face, it's a really important in Agile environment. Working software, constant pace, good design, simplicity, and self-managing and reflect and adjust. So these are 12 principles of Agile. And if you have any questions, we can spend some time later. And now let's move on to the next part, which is Agile Frameworks. And I know some people who don't have much expertise in Agile, and they hear Agile buzzword, and then they hear a Scrum buzzword. So they kind of like make an equality between Agile and Scrum. So Agile means Scrum, Scrum means Agile. But not, they're related to each other, but these are different terminologies. Agile, as you see, like an umbrella, its a methodology is a mindset, but it's not a framework itself. So to implement a methodology or to make your mindset valid for your organization, you need to follow some frameworks. And you see many frameworks here, but we will focus today on Scrum and Kanban, and these are called lightweight approaches. And there are also fuller approaches such as Scrum of Scrum, or a safe scaled Agile framework, or discipline Agile delivery. So this means if we are a big organization, like let's say 10,000 or more people, we want to scale. So we have a team working on a product or a project, and most of the time this team is dependent on another team, and another team also is dependent on another department, let's say. And we have this connection and interdependency. So we want to scale our product, and also complexity of the product is different. And like what we work on is way more complex that, for example, the startups who are just starting, delivering value and they have a simple product, they didn't have a chance to scale it yet. But if we are talking about the banks, imagine the level of security they have in the banks and the level of connections between development testers, because as a bank user, you want to make sure that your information is secured because you provide very sensitive information, right? And nobody is able to hack it and nobody is able to steal it. And also there are different security levels even for the employees of the organization. So this is a different scale. And that's why Scrum is a framework mainly for like one single solo team, but SAFe and the other frameworks you see on the fuller approaches, they are created for the organizations which are scaled and which has many dependencies and interconnections. So let's talk about Scrum. Again, I am not sure how much knowledge you have already about Scrum, but I will briefly explain you that in Scrum, we use an iterative approach, meaning a sprint. So the sprint is a time cycle from 1 to 4 weeks. And let's say we are having 2-week sprint because it's the most common time duration. So in this 2 weeks, as a team, we need to plan a piece of work. We need to develop it, meaning we need to code it. We need to test it. And ideally, we need to release it and gather feedback from our customers. Or if we are not releasing it, at least we are doing a review with our stakeholders or with our customers to get the feedback on the product. So we are not building everything and then showing it to the customer. We are building MVP, minimum viable product, or minimum valuable product, so our customers can use it right away. And during the cycle, we have a few meetings such as sprint planning. So in this meeting, we are planning what we want to deliver to our customer in 2 weeks. We have a review where we are showing the product, what we've built, and gather the feedback, and then either we are releasing it or our stakeholders provide some feedback how we can change it, and we are going through the next cycle of implementing this feedback. And retrospective, where we gather with the team and talk about what went right, what we are grateful for, like what is our mood, etc., and what didn't go well. So the next few weeks or in future, we can implement our learnings and do better next time. And every day we have a daily Scrum meeting where people, the team, they're talking to each other and kind of sharing what I've done yesterday, what is my plan of doing for today, what is my accomplishments, or what are my blockers, and if somebody can help me to resolve my blockers. So all of this is addressed to maintain the speed. So if I have a blocker, I don't keep it to myself, or even if I am trying to resolve it myself, sometimes I might not know the right people or the right direction of solving it. So I might spend way more time of trying to, battle it on my own, compared to talk to the team and then somebody would say, oh, I had that issue 2 months ago and that's how I solved it. Or like, that is the person you need to talk to. That person had an experience. So all of this helps you to speed up with a process of delivering value. And to reiterate, what Scrum is about is to split time into short iterations or sprints, to optimize the release plan and update the priorities, because every 2 weeks we are gathering together for planning and thinking, are other priorities changes? Do we have any new information, and do we need to reprioritize some work, or are we still following the plan, kind of what we pre-planned to deliver for like the next few cycles? Another thing is to optimize the process by having a retrospective, again, to reflect on what went well, so we continue doing that, and to reflect on what didn't go well, so we can have some learnings and do it better next time. Split your work into concrete deliverables. As I said, we are going through the cycle of coding and testing and then releasing it to the customers, not just code for one sprint and test for another sprint, because speed is a king here. And split your organization into small teams, so it's easier to understand who is doing what, understand individual capacity, workload, and also predict the speed of delivering value. Kanban. Kanban is another framework, and it doesn't mean that we have to choose one framework over another. It just helps us to understand our work environment and choose which framework is going to work better for us. So in Kanban, I would say I would recommend it to use somewhere where the work is unpredictable. So you cannot plan for the next 2 weeks, or like you can plan, but your plan is changing all the time, and your prioritization is continue to be changed like at least few times per day, or like few times per this 2 weeks. You might wonder the example where it can be that unpredictable. I would say, like, imagine if there is a team, let's call them optimizers. So they are helping another team to resolve their bugs. And this works especially for like large enterprises where the processes are not that clear and most of the teams are interconnected. So if you're like mainly a front-end team, you might work with Scrum. You deliver a feature to the customer so they can test using the front end. But if there is something happen on the back end, sometimes it's not up to your team to fix it. But there is a team, like they've been working, let's say, with APIs mainly, and APIs are on the back end. The expertise is with that, so they're helping multiple teams to fix their errors and to fix their issues. And imagine, like, you're the team who is helping 5 other teams, and all of these 5 teams coming to you at the same time and asking you to prioritize their bug because they're delivering value, so their customers cannot wait. And if you already pre-planned, if you're working with Scrum, and you pre-planned fixing your bugs for the next 2 weeks, and somebody came to you the next day after you made this plan, so what should you do? Should you just follow the Scrum framework and say you have to wait for the next 2 weeks at least, and then after these 2 weeks, we will go through prioritization, and then we might prioritize your bug or might not. So you might wait even longer than 2 weeks. Or should we go through the prioritization every time the new issue and the new bug is coming? So I think you would agree it makes more sense to go through prioritization all the time. So here in the Kanban, we are managing the flow, we are managing the prioritization, we are improving collaboratively, evolving experimentally, because all of this is an experiment. And we limit work in progress because it's very tempting to take more work in progress when you start resolving someone else's issue, and then another person comes and says, this is an emergency, this is a priority, prioritize this one. So you stop working on what you've been working before, start working on another thing, and then 2 hours later, the third person came and said, that is an emergency on another part of the product or another department, prioritize that, and you already have 3 items in progress. But it doesn't mean that all of them are in progress. It means you actually are pausing 2 items to start working on the most urgent one. So instead of having all of this in progress, we are limiting work in progress. Let's say I am the developer and I can have only 2 items in progress. So it means I am reprioritizing, let's say, the first one, and whoever is free starts working on that. or at least everybody knows that that item was deprioritized and nobody is working on that. So limiting work in progress is a key of Kanban framework. And implement feedback loops. So again, we're helping the organization, something goes good, something goes bad. So we need this feedback to make sure that we are still providing the value. And visualize, because again, you already imagined that the environment is hectic. Somebody keeps coming to you and asking to prioritize their work, and everything is an emergency. And it's challenging to keep everything in your head and kind of prioritize in your head and share your vision and idea with the team. So visualization is another key aspect. Let's just put everything on a board. Let's make it as simple as possible. We can use Jira if we are working online. If we are in the office, we can use just simple stickers, but make sure that there is nothing in your head. Everything is upfront and everybody see what is happening at this very moment and what is planned. So that's about frameworks. Again, very brief, very nutshell. I highly recommend to spend more time again asking myself or watching YouTube videos. There are many about Scrum and Kanban. And if you're seriously considering this profession, I would recommend to take at least one certificate on each framework. So another part of the presentation, Agile Common Metrics. So why metrics are important? As I mentioned, we are here together to provide value, but how to make sure that we are still providing value. And also I mentioned the phrase like continuous improvement or retrospective, where we are talking about what went wrong or what is going right and how to improve this wrong, or even if everything is right, how to make it better. Because it's great that everything is going good, but can we do better? That is the mindset of Agile. Yes, it's great, but is it possible to make it even better, even greater than it is? Yes. So that's why we need metrics to provide some data, to provide some numbers on what we can do better. And let's look at the metrics and how can they help us. So again, just want to focus. Metrics are not our prison or whoever is monitoring us. Metrics are not to micromanage us. And I know we have some micromanagers even in Agile environment, and they try kind of like to metric a person, to metric an employee. No, the Agile metrics are not for this case. Agile metrics are just to measure value and improve the value and make our life as the workers better, not harder. So if you experience metrics for yourself, that is not what Agile is meant for. So we have Kanban metrics, Scrum metrics, Lean metrics, because these are different frameworks. And I think you will agree that it's logical to have different metrics for different frameworks. So in Kanban, as I mentioned, cycles are important, prioritizations are important. So primary focus of these metrics is to measure invested time, delivered results, and the ratio. In Scrum, we are focusing on planning, understanding our workflow, and demonstrating the amount of work completed during a given period. And Lean metrics, we didn't talk about Lean, but that is another key framework, and I highly recommend to Google Toyota manufacturing. And if you are curious, this is a great book of managing the flow system playbook by Nigel Thurlow and John Turner. So if you are interested on how Toyota is working, they are using Lean framework, and they're using Lean metrics. And why Toyota? Because please forgive me, Tesla fans and another car fans, Toyota is a #1 car manufacturer in the world, based on a number of sold cars. So what can be in common of the metrics of different frameworks? So in Agile, we are measuring productivity, meaning how productive the team is at delivering software features. We are measuring quality, so we want to provide qualified product so our customers love it. We are measuring team satisfaction, and we are measuring the value itself. So the first metric to help us to measure productivity is the lead time. So the lead time measures total time it takes to complete a story, starting from when it enters the product backlog until it's finished and released in sprint. So for example, Lisette had an idea of a new feature for Instagram. She came to me as a product owner and shared the idea. I agreed that the idea is great. So not forget this idea, which was approved by our upper management. So I created a task or a feature on my product backlog, but my team hasn't started working on that because I need to spend more time on analysis. I need to spend more time on design. And also there are other features which are already prioritized, and my team needs to finish them because based on our stakeholders, those features have higher priority. So the task is already created because the idea was initiated, but the work hasn't been started. And then, let's say after 15 days, I have a free BSA business system analyst who started working on the analysis of this feature. And then when analysis was done, appeared that we need a design. So the designer started working on it and spent another 10 days. And then we needed to prioritize it. So it's been in our backlog for another 20 days. And finally, we prioritized it for the sprint, started working on it. So my developer spent 5 days on coding that, and then it took 3 days for a tester to finish testing it. And then finally, work was completed and delivered to the customer. So the lead time is the total time spent from the task creation to work completion. And I randomly kept throwing numbers. I don't remember how many days I said was taken for like individual phase, but let's say it took us 50 days from task creation to work completion. So is it bad that we haven't started working on the task right away? It's up to us to decide. So our metrics are providing us data, but we are the ones who are analyzing the data. Sometimes if we are working on the backlog for 2025 or 2026, there is nothing wrong that there are some ideas who were prioritized for 2026 and they are already in our backlog and the time started ticking. So the lead time is going to be like, I don't know, 360 days or so. So nothing's wrong with that. So we analyzed the metrics and we decided that it's fine. But if we want to move on faster, if we want to adapt to new environment, maybe 50 days can be critical. So we start analyzing our lead time. So why it takes 50 days? So, okay, the task was in the backlog, but then we've been waiting for a business analyst to start working on it. So it was kind of like a wait time in between the cycles. So can we improve this wait time? Do we need to hire another business analyst? Or do we need to look closely at what our current business analysts are doing and prioritize their work? And then the same with the design. And the same when the design is done, do we have enough developers to jump on working on it? Or our developers are busy with other stuff? do we need to hire more people? So all of these conversations can be happening when we have data and when we have metrics. Cycle time is another metric which is focusing precisely on when work has started and work completed. So lead time is the total time between task creation to work completion. Here in cycle time, we are excluding like the analysis part, we are excluding the design part. We are focusing like mainly when the developer hit the button, started working on the task until the work is completed. So here we can look closely on our Scrum or Kanban team and see what can we improve here. For example, we have just 3 developers in one team, and sorry, we have 3 developers and just 1 tester. So these 3 developers, they take one story at the beginning of the sprint, and then they finish them at the same time. And so one tester doesn't know which story he or she needs to pick up first and test. And so whatever story they pick up to test, 2 other stories are waiting for his or her availability to continue. So something to think about and to improve of working with a team. There are other metrics, and I don't have time to go through them, but you can take a screenshot, or again, I will send you the slides later, and you can review and raise your questions here. Regarding the quality metrics, an example can be finding bugs or escaped defects, and how fast we are able to resolve them. So testing, another topic of Agile software lifecycle. I see that I need to rush a little bit through my presentation. So I will just go through the phases of testing. So we have an analysis phase, as I mentioned before, where product owner and business analysts are working on the business side of the product. Then we have design if we have the front end. So here is system architect and UI UX designer are working on making it presentable to our customers. Then we have deployment where our programmers and developers are coding the future feature. And then testing, this is where we are focusing here as a group. So we test the product to make sure that it's a high quality and our customers will receive the high value at the end. And then we are going through the deployment cycle, meaning we are taking our tested code and providing it to the production. So it's not just us, the team can use it. Now it's live. Now our customers provide us a feedback and maintenance. So after the deployment, definitely there are going to be some complaints, some bugs. So testers, support managers, we are helping to resolve the bugs and again provide the value. So kind of what are the testing activities in product development? So what we are focusing on here is after we gathered business requirements and started developing the stories, we are doing some unit testing and integration tests on this phase. During this specifically testing phase, we are testing against user story. So we are going through different requirements and different types of tests. So here you can see, like, as I mentioned, unit testing during the development cycle, A to B test, story test, user experience test, prototypes, simulation, like next phase of the stage. Then we can go through the exploratory testing, workflows testing, system integration, usability testing, user acceptance testing. And another phase is performance testing, load testing, security testing, quality attributes. So I know that I threw lots of terms on you right now. again, don't be scared of that. Take your time. You can Google all of this individually if you are interested in depth. Here is just a scope of what you do as a tester and different types of tests to provide quality to the customer. And another terms you might hear is smoke testing, sanity testing, regression testing. Again, take this screenshot and ask me questions later. And the final slide I wanted to share with you is the release process. So kind of what I mentioned before, we have the development stage, and here there are more details. So we use some tools like Confluence, Jira Software, Bitbucket during the development stage. Then it goes through, so the code is going through the review on the Bitbucket. Then it goes to build, and there are other tools like Jenkins, Xcode. These tools we mainly use in our organization where I work for. So after the code was built, now like the testing starts, like unit test. Then it's going through the SonarQube, another powerful tool to Google and to have better knowledge on that. Then it goes through the Agile repository. And after that, it deploy on the test device. And here, like lots of testing from the previous slides are happening. So after it was deployed on the test device or test environment, there are functional automation tests or like any other automation like acceptance test or performance tests, any security scans. And finally, everything was deployed to production. Customers started using it. And us as a team, we keep going through the monitoring, receive the feedback, receive the bugs, fix the bugs. And to fix the bugs, we are going through the same process, the same cycle over and over again. Sorry for a bit rush at the end. I just really wanted to show all of the scope of Agile. And now, Lizette, back to you. Any questions?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, AINA. Let me see. Let me change the view a little bit so we can have everybody here. All right. Thank you so much. I think this was great. You guys pop in your question. We can still stick around for another 5 minutes because having a guest speaker is not something that happens all the time. So yeah, go ahead and ask your question. While you guys are thinking about your question, let me throw in some of my comment because I took a little note while you were talking. So last night for me, but yesterday evening, I was at a PMI chapter in California doing a topic on Agile, the dark style of Agile implementation. So that was super fun, and I learned a lot about, the certification that you mentioned. They were talking about it, the one that you say it's very difficult, and not difficult, but the one that is very important. They also felt that it was really important because I was networking with some other people. So something to think about if that's the route you want to go. I love your example about Zoom, because that kind of like caught my attention because it's something we don't talk about a lot, how people innovate, right? And how using agile methodology actually allow company to innovate faster. Because this feature that you were mentioning, just appear. And I love that you were talking about how when we stumble up on Zoom, because some of us were using Zoom like way before, right? Before the pandemic. But when the pandemic came, Zoom became like a household name for everybody else that didn't use Zoom. And you can see how Zoom is just improving. Like I host most of my call on Zoom, but yesterday I was a guest like you, and I felt like my interface was way different than, when I host, And then there's a webinar that I go to, a political webinar that I go to on every Sunday. The Zoom interface is also different. And I'm sitting there like, this is Zoom? Okay. Good for you, Zoom. So it's the agile methodology that allowed them to innovate and stay in the game. And so I love that you give that example, even the Clubhouse example as well. And then this is for this is coming for you. I love your slide. They're always like on point. I love the slide on the 12 principle of Agile. I feel like that slide had a lot of things in it. I also love the slide with the weight, the different Agile methodology. I think I took some screenshot of that because I was like, this is good. This is something you can print and just put in front of you, in front of your computer to just remind you because it's like a menu. I don't know if you say that, but it's almost like a menu of the different, agile methodology out there because people only know what they know. And it's good. I mean, I don't know all of them. I have a safe certification because I wanted to also dab into safe a little bit. And then when you start talking about metrics, we were talking about that last night too, team happiness. And I had a question for you, like, I had a question for you because somebody asked me that yesterday. So let me ask you back. Like, what is your favorite way to measure team happiness?
So we have like Agile Center of Excellence in my organization to measure that. But the purpose of that is to create a survey and like for each organization is individual, what we are focusing on. So for example, like one of the questions can be, like, what are your relationships with your managers? And then kind of like going further on that, like, are your managers supportive? And like, let's say like scale 1 to 10. And the results are like individual. We definitely don't want to scare people of like, oh, I provide my name and say my manager is not supportive. And then like another question. So like not just saying like 1 to 10, no, my manager is not supportive, but what exactly are you looking for the support? How can we support you? And then how is your collaboration with the team? And then like, are there any specific team members you find difficulties with? And we are not asking for the name. We are maybe not even asking for the roles, but just yes and no. And we see like, yes, this team has like most of the team members answered yes, so maybe there is one difficult team member in this team. And then when we like create this survey and analyze the results, some of the results are surprising, and I can give you an example. So when we asked about the support from like the higher level of management, like we have the team level, the hub level, and then the journey level, because we are scaled agile. So the team level was happy with the support because the journey supports the team. So they feel like really supported, motivated, like coming to the journey, providing the ideas, and then these ideas are taken to the innovations. But the journey has like AVP, associate VP, or VP level of support. And we got only negative results from the journey. So there is definitely a disconnect between this like middle management and higher management, which needs to be
As
fixed.
always, as always, that's always the challenge. So we have a question in the chat. Is it possible for an organization to work with all agile metric at the same time in a sprint, or they can only use one of it in a sprint? Okay, that's a good question.
Great question. Yeah, I like it. So again, depends what we are using this metrics for. So if we're talking about the sprint, so most likely we will use metrics such as a burn down chart or burn up chart, cycle time, and because these are more focused on like tactics for the team. If we are talking about lead time, so lead time doesn't make sense to use just for sprint. Lead time is kind of from the ideation of idea to the end. So I anticipate these metrics are going to be used at least for a quarter. Team happiness. It's challenging to increase the happiness just in one sprint, especially if we have center of excellence. Again, if you are a Scrum Master and if you are working with a team as a retrospective, yes, on the retrospectives, you also can have kind of like screenshot of a team happiness. So how are I feeling like today? And like make this like gradations, like are we happy, are we tired? So this makes sense using for like the sprint. But if we are talking like globally about the teams, like scaled teams, this metrics is used maybe once in 4 or 6 months because it takes time to gather the feedback. It takes time to analyze the feedback, to see like the trends, and then to like identifies a strategy of implementing that and then implement the strategy. So you see how challenging it is. So it's like 6 months or 4 months if the organization is smaller.
Yeah, that's a good question. What I used to do, and a broader question that I have, most of your metrics sounds like Dora metrics. Do you know about Dora metric, right? So, because I evangelize a lot for people to use Dora metrics, but what I used to do for this organization was it depended on the iteration, because we had a Kanban team that was doing like 3 weeks Kanban, and then we had a Scrum team that was doing 2 weeks. So I decided to just do every two sprint, and then every two sprint we look at those Dora metrics. It kind of like give us a good, 5 weeks window, more than a month. So we know where is the data trending, and then we can course correct every month kind of thing. So you give the right answer. Any other question? We already 10 minutes past our time, so we can wrap it up. Aina, if you want to send me your slide, I'll feel free to share with the team. But this will be on YouTube. I hope that's okay with you. I think
Yeah.
you are a YouTuber as well, so that should be fine. So Aina will share her LinkedIn profile. It's just her name. If you guys have any question, you can reach out to her. But it's always great to have you, and this was super helpful for the group. I'm sure they're gonna have any other question. And some of the stuff that you discuss at the end are part of the class. So that's a good thing that it's not just me talking about, the different kind of tests that you can do, but you also give them a good summary of the various, your last slide about the quadrant, that was really good. So we already discussed some of those. So it's good for them to see it again. Okay, one more question before we go. Something about PMI. How does the PMI Agile, okay, ACP differ from the PSI certification in terms of curriculum and benefit? So I'll ask Aina, give a quick answer, and then maybe they can reach out to you personally later, because that might require like a good expose, you know. So go ahead.
Yeah, so the first difference is that PSM is a professional Scrum Master, so it focuses only on Scrum. ACP is Agile Professional Certified Practitioner, so it focuses on the Agile umbrella. And it has questions on Kanban, Lean, XP, so you can explore different frameworks. And also it's challenging you to adapt your mindset to Agile, because there are many questions on the team dynamic, on like collocative team versus online team, like body language, all of this, which is missing in PSM. And PSM focuses mainly on framework of Scrum. So I would say like PSM is more tactical precisely in Scrum. PMI ICP is more strategic about overall Agile umbrella. And both of them are valuable. That's why I have both.
Awesome. That's why you're the expert. All right. Thank you so much. If you have any other question, feel free to send it to Aina directly, or send it to me, or reach out to her. She's super helpful to most of our students that joined this session last time. So I'm sure she will be glad to, direct you to anything. And follow her also on LinkedIn. She shares a lot of great information as well. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lizette. And my last comment, I really loved your example with the menu. So I feel like I just came and introduced the Agile menu to the group. So Lizette, back to you to give the tasting of each of the ingredients.
Yes, that was a great menu, even the one umbrella also, just like the picture show, that's really great, because we love analogy, because I think that's how the information stick in people's head. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye-bye.